Starting off, The Fantastic Four was a movie that was set for release in 1994 based on the Marvel Comics team of the same name. Development started in 1983 when a film producer named Bernd Eichinger met with Stan Lee to potentially get the movie rights for The Fantastic Four. The option was not available until 1986 when Eichinger's production company, Constantine Films, got the rights for around $250,000. Although budget concerns kept making the movie not go through with companies like Warner Bros. And Columbia, and by 1992, Constantine was about to lose the rights, so in a last-ditch effort, Eichinger hired Roger Corman, who was known as the King of B-movies, and completely abandoned the high-budget plan to instead make it for $1 million. Yes, $1 million. The movie was filmed in 1992, directed by Oli Sassoon, a music video director. It was officially announced in a magazine article in 1993, and that summer, trailers were actually playing in movie theaters. We even had cast interviews in Comic-Con, and it was set to premiere in the Mall of America on January 19th, 1994. However, just days before the scheduled event was supposed to take place, it was suddenly halted, and the cast were given cease and desist orders to not promote the movie. It turns out that the movie was suddenly canceled and never would be officially released. There's never been an official reason, but the most common theory is that Avi Arad hated the movie so much and he thought it would destroy the Marvel brand that he bought the rights to the movie to get it never released. This is the same guy who approved these movies and let them release, by the way. Despite Avi's action, the movie was leaked and now is fully watchable. It's become kind of a cult classic among Marvel fans, and has even been acknowledged by Marvel as the Fantastic Four in this movie made a brief cameo in First Steps. So this movie's status in early 2026 is that it is fully found. Another superhero movie, Batgirl, was going to be an entry in the DCEU before that whole universe got canceled. It was initially reported that Batgirl would have been a female team-up movie with Harley Quinn, but then they decided that Batgirl was going to be in her own movie. Joss Whedon, the director of The Avengers, signed on to direct this movie in 2017. He was set to start production following the Justice League reshoots. However, following the failure of the Whedon cut, and Joss Whedon being canceled for poor behavior, he dropped out. Batgirl was officially announced to be back in development after a few years in 2020 as a movie that would be released exclusively on HBO Max, or HBO Max. It was later set for either a 2022 or 2023 release date. The casting was later announced, with Leslie Grace being the title character, J.K. Simmons reprising his role as Commissioner Gordon from Justice League, Brendan Fraser, who would have played the main villain Firefly, and interestingly enough, Michael Keaton as Batman. The plot would have simply been about Batgirl's origin story and finding both Firefly and Killer Moth. The movie was fully filmed in Glasgow, Scotland, and was set for a late 2022 release only on HBO Max. However, during 2022, Warner Bros. Got bought out by Discovery, and that's when David Zaslav gets in the picture. He canceled the movie for a tax write-off, which basically means that the money they spent on the movie, which was reportedly $70 to $90 million, they would get back all the money even without it releasing. He didn't see why a movie that would have only been on streaming would make money back, and he also didn't have confidence to put it out in theaters either. So the best thing to do was just to cancel it. This happened to other movies like Scoob 2 and Coyote vs. Acme. Along with this also led to the removal of a bunch of classic Cartoon Network and Adult Swim shows, some of which were exclusive to HBO Max, classic Looney Tunes, and 200 episodes of Sesame Street. This guy canceled or removed these because he wanted to put, horrible TLC shows on the service. Anyway, could this movie be found? I'm not too sure. It is partially found because there are There are a few behind-the-scenes photos and videos around the internet, and the occasional clip that might be shared, but that's nowhere near the final movie. I don't think WB would allow it to be released, unlike Coyote vs. Acme, since this movie is associated with a failed cinematic universe, so if it were to be released, it would probably be from a leak or something. For a bit of a different kind of movie compared to all these other movies that were made in America, we're going to South Korea. Age of Peace is a 2000 movie starring H.O.T., a K-pop band active from 1996 to 2001, and a brief reunion in 2019. They were very successful in Korea during those years until a contract disagreement caused the band to break up. The year prior, the band starred in a 3D movie called Age of Peace. The plot was set in 2200, where the H.O.T. members must defend Earth from an alien race called the Zeus. And the only way they do that is by playing soccer. The movie was released in 3D in 2000. It also had a runtime of 27 minutes, which is pretty strange for a theatrical movie. Despite H.O.T.'s success at the time, the movie did not do that great. I couldn't find an actual gross anywhere, but all I've heard is that it didn't do well. Mainly since it could only be shown in 3D theaters, and people were more interested in movies like Gladiator and the original X-Men. Most likely due to its poor performance in the 3D, this movie was never released on DVD, and it isn't available to stream anywhere either. As of 2026, we only have the trailer, the music video for Operation Takeover, which has clips from the movie, and a few screenshots. As for how it could be found, I could maybe see a release if there was enough demand for it. Another potential possibility is that someone recorded it when it was in theaters for piracy reasons, and they could have a copy, so who knows. Continuing the overseas movies, we are going to the Philippines. In 1967, Batman Fights Dracula was released in Philippines theaters. Something that should also be noted is that this was not an official DC production at all. This is a completely unofficial movie not authorized with DC. This is a comedy, most likely because the Adam West show was airing around this time. The plot would have been about a villain named Dr. Zorba, who uses electricity to bring Dracula back to life and kill Batman. Batman and Reuben, not Robin, then fight Dracula and kill him. This film also took some liberties with the Batman IP, since Batman in this movie doesn't have a bat symbol, he just has a guy on his chest. Robin is renamed Reuben, and also he has a Batman mask for some reason, and Alfred is seemingly renamed to Turco. There wasn't much info on this movie, but it seems that it is lost just because of how old it is, and that distribution was practically non-existent. And maybe by the time VHS came around, the movie was long gone, not to mention Warner would have potentially stopped release anyway. All that remains in the movie are a few stills from a newspaper that were shared on a Filipino blog, and this is likely all you will ever see of Batman Fights Dracula. Finally, back in America, I'm going to talk about what many consider the holy grail of lost media. London After Midnight. This was a silent horror movie released in 1927, nearly 100 years ago, and it starred Lon Chaney, who was also in other silent horror movies like Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame, before he sadly passed away from a throat hemorrhage in 1930. The plot of this movie would have been about the death of a man named Roger Balfour, which is labeled a self-deletion. 5 years later, Roger's mansion is home to two ghoulish figures, the man in the beaver hat, which was Lon Chaney's character, and a vampire girl named Luna. It's probably one of the strangest twist endings I've ever seen. Well, at least ever heard of. It's the man in the beaver hat was the inspector who initially ruled Roger's death as self-deletion. He's using hypnosis to make the real killer of Roger reenact the killing and get him arrested. The film was received with mixed reviews, mainly for them finding the plot nonsensical and incoherent, but it was a financial success for MGM, grossing $1 million on a $151,000 budget. It was even successful enough to get a talkie remake just 8 years later in Mark of the Vampire, which, unlike London After Midnight, is actually found and is watchable to this day. The last known copy of London After Midnight was destroyed in 1965, which was caused by an ignition of a stored nitrate film by electrical short. The fire led to London After Midnight, as well as many other movies being destroyed. Despite the movie being lost, the pictures Lon Chaney took in the makeup for the movie, which are famous among horror movies, and even inspired other horror character designs like the Babadook. Okay. TCM also made a reconstruction of the movie in 2002 using the surviving photographs in the script. Despite the cultural impact of this movie, it is highly unlikely that this movie will ever be found, mainly since this movie is about 100 years old, and it's possible that very few, if any, people who watched this movie back then are still around today. So unfortunately, this film is likely lost forever. And it's more or less likely unless someone manages to make a time machine and get this movie before it was destroyed, that the TCM recreation is likely all you'll ever see of the movie. And that is all I got for today. So, yeah. I hope you like this video, and if you like this video, I would recommend to subscribe and turn on notifications, and goodbye!